Well, good evening. Thanks a lot for staying with us here at CNN News 18. You're watching The Right Stand. I'm Ridhima. A powerful Lingayat seer, a flawed system, delayed action. Unfortunately, that really has been the crux of what has played out over the last 1 week in Chitradurga in Karnataka. Shivamurthy Muruga, the chief pontiff of the Muruga Mutt in Chitradurga, was booked under the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act of POCSO for allegedly sexually assaulting 2 minor girls. 6 days after the allegations and 7 days after the FIR, the seer was finally arrested in late-night drama yesterday. The Mutt's hostel warden, who was also one of the 5 people named in the FIR, has also now been arrested. But the arrest came not only delayed, but with serious lapses. More on that in just a bit. But first, let's talk about the system and how it has let down the victims. Despite the grave allegations, the victims had fingers pointed at them, not just from the seer, but also from politicians who already gave the seer a clean sheet even before the investigation began. All because of the clout that the Lingayat community enjoys and the fear the politicians have to lose this vote bank. Now that the arrest has happened, the question is, will the Netas in the system finally speak up for the victims?
Age after 60 or 40, 50, 60, there are chances of some diseases like heart problems and all.
ಕಾನೂನು ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ನಡೀತದೆ. ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತನಾಡುವುದು ಸರಿಯಲ್ಲ. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮುಕ್ತವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇವೆ.
So as I said, there was already delayed action and lapses in the investigation. But the drama did not end there. Before I bring you a timeline and a recap of what has happened over the last 7 days, it is actually very important to note of what we've seen play out today. It has been the ugliest of sorts. Every possible trick in the book has been used by this year to try and avoid jail and to try and avoid law and punishment. Let me give you some details. What really happened on the 26th of August? The FIR was filed under POCSO, but there was no arrest. This is where the first lapse was created by investigative agencies on the ground. Why was there no arrest? Why wasn't the seer questioned? Then, the Netas non-committal on arrest and shielding charge. As I said, it was not just the delay in the investigation, but the clean chit that was already given to this year by different politicians on the 29th of August. This particular seer, who had allegations of sexual harassment against him, actually addressed the media and he said that all this was just a conspiracy charge and I've been seeing this for the last couple of years. Then, again on the 29th of August, he was reportedly stopped when trying to flee to Dubai. So if you haven't done anything wrong, why would you want to run away? Then, again on the 29th of August, as I pointed out, stopped at Haveri, forced to return back to Chitradurga. Then what happened? On the 29th of August again, was carrying passport and other documents, which means an escape plan had already been made. What is also important to note here is, look at the timeline of when the action actually started to play out. On the 1st of September, pleads health issues soon after the arrest, and this is where it gets problematic. Over the last 1 week, we hadn't heard either from the seer or his legal team that he had any health issues. But the minute he's arrested, from heart issues to chest pain to even a heart attack, all possible medical ailments are listed. 1st of September, taken to the hospital. This is again problematic because what we heard from the judge today was that no prior permission from the judge was taken. The judge, in fact, wasn't even informed. On the 2nd of September, shifted to the ICU because his legal team maintained that his situation is deteriorating with each passing hour. The seer's doctors fear a cardiac arrest. The hospital surgeons also, many pointing out, could be a part of this conspiracy. Ill health plea rejected. told to appear in court. Finally, the judges took notice and said, we're not having any of this victim card or the medical card. You have to show up at court. And that's where he was finally sent to police custody for a period of 3 days till the 5th of September, though the police wanted the police custody for a longer period of time. So this is finally what really has happened. As far as the timeline of the case, is concerned, and also more importantly, the twists and turns that we've seen as far as the Seer's own legal team is concerned. So the question that we're asking this evening then is, the arrest has happened, yes, but will the Netas finally speak up for the victims? Let me also now introduce our guests who are joining us to take this discussion forward. We have the petitioner, Siddharth Bhupati. We also have the spokesperson of the KPCC, Sanket Yanagi. We also have advocate Aditya Srinivasan. We also have the former DGP of J&K, SP Ved. And we also have an activist, Barkat Rehan. Good to have all of you on the broadcast with us. Siddharth Bhupati, let me begin with you. Do you think with the arrest that has happened and police getting a custody of 3 days, it's at least a beginning?
Yes, very good evening. Certainly it is. So technically the investigation ought to have begun on the 26/8 when the FIR was filed, has begun today, according to me, which is a positive development. But having said that, going forward, the medical examination, the statement has to be recorded by the accused, and all the due procedures have to be followed. So that is the major aspect. But this is a positive beginning.
But isn't it baffling, Siddharth, to you that, and this is what I pointed out when I started the show, that for the last week we had seen this Seer appear before the media. He had continued with his morning box as well. He looked absolutely fine. But the minute he is arrested, we see this list of medical ailments, urging a sense of, wanting a sense of urgency and medical help required by doctors. The timing is very, very questionable. If these ailments in fact were there, why did we not hear about it over the last 1 week?
No, this is what happens with most of the accused. So as soon as the arrest happens, all kind of ailments start to show up. But again, under provisions of law 55A of CRPC, it says it is the duty of the officer in whose custody the accused has been taken. So it is his duty to ensure his health and safety. So it becomes the duty of the investigating officer, and the permission has to be taken by the magistrate. If at all he needs to be admitted to a hospital, and medical treatment has to be done.
Okay, so you're saying at least it's a beginning. Yes, the police would have wanted a longer period of time as far as the custody is concerned, so that this interrogation and questioning can actually begin. But I want to bring in Sanket Yanagi as well. As I said, from day one, it has been against the victims. You've had the Seer come out and say this is a conspiracy. I've heard about it before as well. Politicians also came out one after another, giving a clean chit to the Seer, and the police on the ground refusing to act. How do victims then make their point heard when you're up against a system that is so flawed?
On the day when the stand of our party has been very clear that it requires a fair investigation. We are neither supporting the accused Seer, nor we are saying that he is very innocent and all the allegations are untrue. We never said so. What we have said is about his past conduct. And past conduct is entirely different from the circumstances. Just because he was a Seer, just because he was a noble person, that will not influence the investigation. And we have been very clear since the day one that it requires a detailed probe. Fair and free investigation. Government must give a free hand to the investigating authorities. That has been our request. And now, since the investigation is already underway, we will not be able to say who is right and who is wrong, or whether it is a conspiracy as raised by the or not. It is too difficult for us to say. We cannot jump to a conclusion. And I will not be a part of the media trial to conclude someone as a guilty or not guilty.
No. This is
Because it is too
problematic.
early.
One sec, Sanket. The media is not pronouncing anybody innocent or guilty. We're saying let law take its own course. The first problem was that there was a delay as far as the investigation is concerned. And as far as a clean chit that is being given, the politicians from across political parties have already given a clean chit to the Seer. So isn't that jumping to conclusion then?
So that is what I said. Mr. Yediyurappa has clearly declared that he is innocent. He has not committed any offence.
No, why
He is
only
the part of-
Yediyurappa? Even
One
DK
minute, one
Shivakumar
minute,
has
one
come
minute.
out and said, look at the kind
are
of
not
work
in
that
power.
he's done. He is a noble
Mr.
man.
DK Shivakumar
You're
is not
already
in
building
power.
a case against the victims, aren't you? I'm saying if the Seer is innocent, let it be proven in the court. Let law take its own course, but at
No,
least let
let
it
us
reach
be
that
very
stage,
clear.
no?
Let us not jump to the conclusion. We have been very clear from the day one. It is Mr. Yediyurappa who is a part of the ruling party. As clearly, he is a former chief minister. He is a part of the ruling party. He clearly says that he is innocent. He will come out clean. We never said so. We never justified it. We never say that he should not be investigated.
But did your party
And we have been
once
very
speak,
clear.
one
Let's
sec,
go-
Sanket, did your
We have
party
been- no,
once
one-
speak
let me
in
speak
favor
my
of the
sentence.
victims? No. All we
No,
heard
let-
from DK Shivakumar and others
you-
were
you
that
have
he
to
is a
allow me to
noble
complete
man.
my sentence.
He might have done a lot in the past. But there are also
No.
allegations against him for sexual harassment. Let that be proven in a court of law. Why
It
are
is true.
politicians jumping the gun? It's politicians
No.
who are jumping the gun, not the media.
Yes, it is the politicians from the BJP who have jumped the gun, not from the Congress.
No,
Congress has said that it requires a
no
fair
political party can take a higher moral ground. All political parties across party lines have let the victims down because of their sheer silence. And this is what I said when I started the
No,
show.
since from the beginning, we
This
are
is a
very clear
letdown
on two aspects.
to the
No,
victims,
one
not
minute.
just by the
Ridhima,
system, but by the political
Ridhima,
parties
let
as
me-
well.
Let me complete the sentence, Ridhima. We have pointed out two circumstances. Firstly, that there are two complaints against each other. Secondly, that there is a delay in filing complaints in both the sides. So, it requires investigation at the free hands of the police. And the moment police take up the investigation and conduct this, and ultimately who is guilty, who is not guilty, at least it's a matter of subject matter of
Absolutely,
investigation.
but let it
Or the
reach that
trial.
stage. Till now, it wasn't even reaching that stage because the police and the system wanted to aid this Seer. They wanted to shield him. That's exactly what I'm saying. I agree with
Now
you.
the investigation
Let law
is
take its
on.
own course. But we weren't letting it even reach that stage. But let me bring in SP Ved as well. And SP Ved, politicians one side, their sheer silence is absolutely unfortunate. But what about the law officials on the ground? They're supposed to provide security to these victims. But we saw the opposite happening. The police officials did not want to question the Seer. He wasn't arrested for a good 6 days. They didn't take over the Mutt. Why?
See, already there is delay of 7 days. And the first thing should have been done that by any investigating agency, the recording of statement of both the victims, the minor girls, and then get them medically examined. Have a report of the medical doctor, a team of doctors, and after that interrogate, in fact take him into custody, interrogate him if there is a substantial evidence against him. Proceed against him. I think Lingayat community has a lot of influence on the voters. So every political party is trying to compete with each other to give him clean chit. It is very unfortunate that politicians, however high they might be, that they are giving clean chit without proper investigation and matter going to the court. Very, very unfortunate. And already the investigation has been biased against the victims, whereas it should have been the other way around. The police should have been on the side of the victims and not on the side of the accused just because he is so influential.
Yeah. And it is the fear of the political parties and politicians that we could possibly lose a vote bank. So we come out and say nothing. But Aditya, I want to bring you in and I just want a clarification because this is where another unfortunate reality has played out. So there was POCSO in play. The victims that we are speaking to you are 2 minors. Wasn't an arrest imminent when POCSO is in play?
I mean, look, to an extent, it depends on exactly what has happened. And I know there's what has been reported in the news, but it is possible for the police to have done, for example, what the Karnataka police did, which is to first detain him for a certain period of time, do an initial line of questioning, let him go, and then subsequently make the arrest. I don't think that is precluded under the provisions of the POCSO Act.
And what about the bail? What are the conditions for an accused to get bail under POCSO?
Right. So the conditions that would ordinarily apply to let's call them ordinary offences or offences under the IPC would also apply as per the terms of the CRPC. I don't recall offhand exactly as to whether there are specific conditions for bail that are set out also in the POCSO statute. They normally tend to be in some of these specialized legislations, such as, for example, the NDPS Act. I don't recall offhand whether it exists for the POCSO legislation. Maybe one of the other panelists may be a little more acquainted with the statute.
Okay. Barkha, I want to now bring you in, and I know you have a slightly different view as far as the rest of the panelists. But is it fair for the victims today, who are two minor girls, to have questions raised against as far as the authenticity of their allegations are concerned?
See, firstly, I'd like to tell you there are n number of cases. POSCO misuse is on rise. I myself am dealing with many cases where I have seen misuse of POSCO. Now, coming back to this particular case, the investigation is going on. The godman is participating in the investigation. What else do you want? Why are we jumping guns? Let the court. I have full faith in the judiciary.
He's cooperating in the investigation. Nobody is doing anybody a favor. He's an accused. Yes. He's supposed to cooperate as far as the investigation is concerned, and that cooperation, quote unquote, is also coming pretty late in the day. The first couple of days, he actually tried to flee the Mutt.
What else?
So I'm trying to understand, what is the cooperation that you're pointing at?
See, I am telling you that after this arrest, my sources tell me that he has been cooperating in the interrogation. What else do you want?
The interrogation hasn't started, ma'am. The questioning still has to start. The judicial custody, the police custody has been given today. So the questioning will start 7 days after the FIR actually was filed. So I'm trying to understand where the cooperation is coming from.
Exactly. See, you cannot just arrest anyone on a mere allegation. There are so many fake allegations also. The police needs time, and now as per the court's instruction, he has been arrested. Now you guys were talking about the health issues. Anybody can have health issues at any time. So please don't do the mudslinging. The bad part of media here is they've already started naming and shaming a particular godman who belongs to a particular religion, Hindu religion, which happens every time. I have seen this. There is a pattern where we have always seen media doing this mudslinging whenever it is a Hindu.
Ma'am, if it wasn't for the media today, I really doubt that the seer actually would have been arrested. If the media hadn't followed this case in detail as we have, the seer wouldn't have been arrested. Let's be very clear with that as well. If there are accusations that are being made by two minors, are you telling me it shouldn't be taken seriously? And it's not just the Swamiji. There are many others from the Mutt who've been accused as well.
It's a very sensitive case. It should be. But we should not be judgmental. Let the court decide.
That's exactly what I was asking Sanket also, ma'am. The media was not passing judgments. It was the politicians who came out on day one and gave a clean sheet to this Swamiji saying he can do nothing wrong. That's when the media had an issue saying, let law take its own course, because you're already working against the victims then. The system is working against the victims. That's all. But Siddharth, I want to bring you in.
The politicians have no right.
Siddharth, I want to bring you in. I want to then understand, when you hear voices like these that, he is cooperating with the investigation. I'm not sure what cooperation has happened considering the fact that he had an escape plan to flee as well. How do victims then fight up a system that is so flawed, on a system that is overwhelmingly so against the victims?
See, the first thing is, this is taking a religious angle, which it should not. Here, the person who has been arrested, who has been taken into police custody, is accused number 1, against whom the charges of certain sections of POCSO and 376 have been invoked. Religion or his position in the society have nothing to do with this. That is point number 1. And the investigating agency, first of all, the POCSO was formulated in 2012 to protect the rights of these minor children. Because if at all these allegations are true, first of all, they would have been traumatized to next level. So these brave girls are coming out and saying their version of the story. That should be supported by the investigating officer. As the other panelists said, even I agree, at this stage, it is not for us to decide who is guilty and who is not. It is for the investigation to happen in a free and fair manner and the trial to happen in a proper way, and then the matter will be adjudicated.
But I also want to understand, Siddharth, you were saying your hope is, and I apologize for interrupting, but you're saying there is still hope that law will take its own course. But even what we saw play out today, it still looked like the system was still trying to shield him, because the hospital doctors were also supporting his narrative that he in fact had some sort of ailments and his situation was actually deteriorating, which was in sharp contrast to what we saw play out when he actually came out of the hospital and he looked absolutely fine. He got into the van. We didn't see any frail position as well. So is there still a fear that the system is possibly still trying to shield this man?
See, as I already told, the arrest has been done, so the investigation has just begun. And this is the exact reason why we are seeking for a court-monitored investigation. Because the developments which have been happening since 26/8, registration of this particular FIR, the world is watching. So the Home Minister gives a statement in support of the accused, the local MLA visiting there, and the accused number 1, the prime accused in this particular case, being allowed to meet the press and tell that he is innocent and he'll come out clean of it, and other colleagues of his having a press meet and saying he's innocent, he's not guilty. So these are the main reasons why we wrote a letter petition and submitted before the registrar of Honorable High Court in Bangalore yesterday, because all this already because of all these factors, prejudice has already been caused on part of the investigation.
Yeah, that's what I said when I started, that you could have just let law take its own course on day 1 itself. Nobody wanted to get involved, but once you already come and give a clean chit to one side, then it's already unfair to the other who's actually filed this case. But Sanket Yanagi, I want to talk to you about a broader issue, which is the case of Godmen and Karnataka. Multiple cases in the past have also seen similar patterns. Nityananda, Raghaveshwar. In one of the cases, the judge actually refused to hear the case. Witnesses turned hostile. Is that the fear that these godmen have on people or the law system? Are godmen above law? Is that the pattern that is emerging from Karnataka? Sanket? Sanket, could you unmute yourself, please?
We have seen in the past and also in present that section of media, including the one where I am now in, have conspicuously been silent on Raghaveshwara Swamiji. And the media has to even accountable and has to answer this question as to why on a similar allegation, the media is silent on Raghaveshwara Swamiji, where the similar allegations are there. And even then it is serious.
I only raised the
and
question,
that is something interesting wherein several judges of the High Court have recused themselves to hear the matter. Is it because of the fact that the Seer tried to interfere in the administration of justice? Was the victim not required for the justice, not willing for getting justice? Or was it the case that she was not deserving the justice? Why the media did not come to the rescue of the victim? That is something which the media even has to answer that.
And what about the responsibility of the politicians and state authorities? They have no accountability, right?
No, everyone is having this. Everyone is having an accountability, and somehow, if we are pointing out fingers on each other, that's not proper. So it is a joint.
Nobody wanted to indulge in this mudslinging and pointing of fingers, Sanket. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. But unfortunately, a pattern is emerging where we actually already want to sideline the victims just because of the clout that this Swami and Seer still enjoys.
You see, victim should not be sidelined, or her interest should not be jeopardized. And she must get a protection, she must get the justice. For that, everyone has to work on it, including the media.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Media
Today, we all know about the
conspicuously
position of the
silent.
Seer. We know he's being moved to the hospital, from the hospital somewhere else, but we have no idea as far as the position of the victims. I'm still not sure if they've been given police protection or not. And because of the cloud that the Swamiji enjoys on the ground, who knows about their safety in days to come? And SP Ved, I want to bring you in here. This is again problematic. Yes, he's been arrested. But what about the conditional protection as far as these victims are concerned? We haven't heard from anybody giving them any assurance.
Absolutely. In fact,
SP Ved.
In fact, the victims should be protected immediately by the police in such high-profile cases. And in the past, we have seen guardmen like Nityanandan, like Papu Asaram, Ram Rahim, many of them facing charges of rape and convicted. Such guardmen have a lot of influence on the society, including politicians, including judges, including police officers, everyone who is part of the society. So in such high-profile cases, court-monitored investigation should be the answer, and the victims need to be protected. There is no doubt, and I think the law should have sided with the weaker and the victim, and not with the accused. His medical problems could be genuine. I don't know much about it, but then I think court can easily find it out after constituting a board of doctors, having him examined. They would give a report whether he actually suffers from disease. My experience of many years shows me that all high-profile people, influential people, fall sick when they are arrested in such cases.
That's such a telling statement, no, sir, that the minute that arrest happens, you start seeing all these ailments coming out. But, sir, I have one quick clarification. As I pointed out when I started the show, that there were some sort of grey zones as far as the action of the police is concerned. In a case like this, when allegations are made, there are minors in play, POCSO is in play as well. Shouldn't the first thing that should have happened should have been the questioning or the interrogation of this year? Can it actually be delayed for a period of 1 week?
No, it is suicidal. In fact, POCSO is for the protection of the rights of the children and sexual abuse of the children, and it is non-bailable. I think swift action should have been taken by police by recording the statement of the minors and get them examined medically and question the seer. And if there is sufficient evidence, he should have been arrested. That's my personal professional view.
Okay, he should have been arrested. Barkhatrayan, I'll give you the final word. I know you wanted to come in. Please go ahead.
See, there is a need of police reforms. Yes, there was a delay. But again, it can be a part of a conspiracy. Let's not jump in with the conclusions. We have to wait for the judges to give the verdict. I cannot
we are waiting for the judges
whether he is innocent
we are
or
waiting
he is guilty.
For the judges to take that verdict, and we really
no media
hoping,
trials.
Absolutely, there is no media trial.
trial.
But there shouldn't be a trial by politicians either. Then it's fair play. But we'll really have to see how this plays out. Unfortunately, I've completely run out of time. I appreciate all our guests taking our time and joining us here. It's a wrap from my side. We're slipping into a very short break, but when we come back, a special report on the commissioning of the INS Vikram.